In a previous video, I talked about how a certain mission stands out for me in the game Oblivion, and to be honest with you, I enjoyed replaying and discussing it and wanted to take on a different mission, so prepare yourselves as we are going to talk more about Oblivion. I stumbled across this mission, which made me really appreciate the variety of unique missions in this game. The mission I'm going to be talking about today is titled A Brush with Death. Similar to the other mission that I talked about, this quest revolves around the player being asked to find a missing husband. However, the husband happens to be trapped inside of a painting. From the offset, it is a very strange and surreal quest to be given, as the player has had a number of quests to complete. In this video, I am going to be talking about what makes this mission interesting and what makes it an underrated mission in open world games. All my opinions, of course. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. The quest begins with an odd request from a stranger. A woman named Tavela has invited you into her home to ask a favour. She asks you to find her missing husband, Ryth, who has suddenly disappeared in the house. Ryth is a famous painter in Cyrodiil. She informs you that he often spent many hours in his study room, which he always kept locked. Upon accepting the favour, Tavela gives you the key to his painted room and you enter. In the room, you will find many small paintings and abstracts. One of the paintings stands out as it's much larger and more detailed. The player approaches the painting and upon inspecting it, they are able to enter the painting. Soon after entering, you are greeted with none other than Ryth. He explains what has happened. To put it simply, a thief broke into his home while he was asleep and stole his magic paintbrush, then vanished into the painting. He followed the thief into the painting and he's unable to find him. He also warns you that the thief has painted some trolls with the magic paintbrush to protect himself. He gives you some enchanted turpentine to help combat the trolls. You are unable to leave unless you track down the culprit. After finishing talking to Ryth, you can see how spectacular this world looks. Everything is vibrant, yet looks fake at the same time. There is a pathway in the forest which you can follow. It doesn't take long before you encounter the painted trolls. They pose a great threat to the player if you get too close. You eventually make your way through most of the trolls and then you find an open area. It resembles an oasis with its yellowish hills and slopes. As you make your way deeper in the area, you will find a body on the ground. It's the thief. The trolls must have turned against him and ultimately killed him. The player inspects the corpse and retrieves the magic paintbrush. You head back to Ryth and he paints you the portal to get back home. You return back to Cyrodiil and the family are reunited. They are eternally grateful and offer a reward in the form of a painter's apron, which fortifies many stats and can be useful for the player. The great thing about open world games is that you can tackle most missions whenever you like. In Oblivion, this is no different. Most side missions you can wander in with little knowledge as to what to expect. A Brush with Death is discovered by a few ways. You can ask about rumours to most NPCs in the game and they will recommend this one. You can also overhear characters talking about the mysterious painting. Another way is by accident. You can simply enter the house with the quest and Tavela will give you the quest regardless. Open world games sometimes lack originality, but I think Bethesda has always done a great job at keeping the player open to new interesting missions. The Vice President of Bethesda Softworks, Peter Hines, explains in an interview how the world and quests aren't locked behind a wall in Oblivion. It's completely open and freeform in terms of what it is that you can do and what it is what you can do next week. The game allows you to make those choices on the fly. We never lock off part of the game for you. All of our quests are there and waiting for you as you pick them up. It's great that the general direction of the game was to make the player explore whichever way they liked. I usually play 1 or 2 main quests, followed by about 5 or 10 side quests maybe. The first time playing this game, I remember that I stumbled on this mission by accident, but wanted to play through right away because of how interesting it was. The characters within this quest are reasonably likeable, unlike in others where you often have to make a moral choice. The characters in the storyline are friendly towards the player and Tavela seems genuinely concerned as she asks the favour. You also know that you can trust Ryth as he gives you the turpentine to help fight the enemies and offers a reward. Unfortunately, there isn't much to go off on the thief though. It would have been interesting to know his drive and point of view. Whether he had no choice, or maybe it was something that Ryth did to him that made him do his actions. Or maybe it was part of the Thieves Guild operation that went horribly wrong. We just don't know. When the painter returns to his wife, he is overjoyed and thanks the player several times. He also mentions not to talk about the paintbrush as more thieves could attempt to steal it. It's nice when NPCs say something positive about your character, as it gives the player more incentive to play on. On top of the world now looking strange, the painted trolls appear to be slightly different to other trolls. They are tougher to fight and they are grey. You can fight them head on, but it's much better to keep your distance. There are 6 in total, and fighting more than one at once would pose a real threat. The turpentine given to you by Ryth can be applied to any weapon, but you must conserve the terps as he doesn't give you many. Leveling up your character in a game like Oblivion is vital, and in this section of the game, it's important. Although it is entirely possible to attempt this mission straight away, I wouldn't recommend it. Instead, get a feel for the game and see which weapons work best for you, as this can have a real impact on how you tackle the trolls. I also suggest leveling up your character more, as the trolls can deal great damage. There is an easier way to avoid most of these enemies. When you first enter the world, immediately turn behind and head northeast, traversing over rocks and hills. I really don't think the developers intended for players to take this shortcut though, as it's quite clunky. It would be wise to take many health potions as your hit points drain rapidly, or you could just use the wait feature. It wouldn't be a Bethesda game without a way of cheesing your way through and taking advantage of your surroundings. You can hide on top of the conveniently placed rocks nearby and take swipes at them as they stay in position. Also, when you kill them, they leave behind painted troll fat, which is cool as you will not come across this type of item again in the game. It isn't worth much, but it's worth keeping in your inventory for sentimental reasons. Something else I noticed was that if the trolls follow you and Wraith, they too can enter the real world with you. I thought that it was worth mentioning, as that is really scary, but also cool. The music in Oblivion is often suspenseful in certain areas. Unfortunately in this area though, there is no standout music. The music you hear inside of the painting is what you would usually expect to hear while exploring a dungeon. This sort of plays into the experience though, as it's an atmospheric track anyway. The whole soundtrack of Oblivion ranges from low mood to boisterous. Inside the painting, the eeriness and uncertainty of the world is heightened by the sounds. The battle music always stays the same, which is epic. Even with the game being as old as it is, the inside of the painting looks otherworldly, as you might expect. You can see where the walls end intentionally. The reason for this is simply because there hasn't been anything else painted yet, so the canvas is pretty limited. Inside the painting, if you look up to the sky, you can see a blue swirl where the cloud should be. It looks incredible to see how significantly small you are in this world. This has a similar feeling to another game, MediEvil, where there's a moment in the game where you get shrunken down and explore the underground ant's nest. This feels very similar, as you are essentially reduced to a smaller size while exploring the painting. Come to think of it, didn't Mario 64 have a similar feature? Alongside the sky being different, the trees seem more flat. It's almost like being inside of a Bob Ross painting at times. There are so many open world games that execute world building excellently. One of the toughest tasks for a game is to make it seem believable, but make the universe seem extra special to the player. Another similar game, Fallout 4, has a mission where the main character has to go into a memory lounger, which helps the protagonist remember a certain moment. It sort of plays back a sequence of events, but scrambled like a dream. This is echoed when replaying A Brush with Death, as you are in someone else's vision through a painted world. There are many other games that might also take inspiration from this moment in Oblivion. So to summarise, A Brush with Death offers so much variety in a relatively short period. It is a quest that can be completed quickly, but I think it's unique as it offers more than what other quests do, and for that reason, it really stands out for me. It amazed me when I first discovered the area and how mesmerising the world within the painting is. What is your favourite quest in Oblivion that you can remember? Was it one from the main storyline, a side quest, or one of the exciting guild quests? Or was it a certain moment outside of quests? Thank you so much for sticking around for the whole video. I know it's been a while, but I'm hoping to get back on track as I have loads of scripts. Thanks for stopping by and have a wonderful day.